The traces of vanished civilizations lie scattered across the globe. Majestic, gray, silent stones. The Colosseum, the Parthenon. We look at them and feel connected to the past, but that connection is an illusion. What we see is history's greatest deception, a trick crafted by time and forgetfulness. These stones hide a crucial secret, what they looked like before they crumbled into ruins. Our minds paint the ancient world in shades of sepia, noble, monochrome, silent. But that's a lie, a complete, absolute lie. The truth is, the ancient world blazed with color, loud, so vibrant that modern eyes would find it garish. Ruins aren't history. They're skeletons stripped of skin, muscle, and color. We stare at these bones and try to imagine the living creature they once were. Today, we're going to strip away history's gray veil. You'll see the Great Pyramid shining with dazzling whiteness under the African sun, crowned by a pyramidion made of pure gold. Step by step, we'll bring back the blood-red colors of Maya temples hidden deep in the green jungle. We'll explore cities buried alive beneath layers of ash. We'll restore their sounds, their scents, and their vibrant hues. This reconstruction will change everything you thought you knew about ancient times. It will reveal the world not as it became, but as it was meant to be. And we'll start with the most recognizable monument on the planet. Its true appearance doesn't just surprise, it blinds. The tomb of Pharaoh Khufu, built 4,500 years ago, greets us today cloaked in the color of the desert. Rough, weathered steps of sandstone stretch toward the sky, a scene everyone recognizes. But it's a lie. The real Great Pyramid looked nothing like this dull stone mound. Originally, it would have seemed almost otherworldly to our eyes. Its slopes were perfectly smooth, covered with polished white limestone slabs that gleamed like mirrors. Under the blazing Egyptian sun, it didn't soak up light. It threw it back. A dazzling, nearly blinding beam that could be seen for miles across the desert. And at the very top, instead of rough stone, sat a capstone made of pure gold. This wasn't just a monument, it was a giant solar reflector, a beacon in the heart of the desert. This shining monument rose with chilling precision. Khufu's engineers didn't have iron tools. Instead, they split blocks using wooden wedges hammered into cracks. They soaked the wood with water, making it swell, which caused the stone to break cleanly. Workers floated these massive blocks down the Nile on barges, then hauled them up enormous ramps. For thousands of years, this marvel stood untouched, but its grandeur sealed its fate. The gleaming white limestone and the gold at its peak proved too valuable to leave alone. Generation after generation of rulers and builders treated the pyramid like a quarry. They peeled away its dazzling white casing, slab by slab, to build palaces and mosques in Cairo. They didn't destroy it overnight, they dismantled it over centuries. What we see today isn't a ruin, it's a skeleton stripped down to the bone. From Egypt to Greece, atop the Athenian Acropolis, stands the Parthenon, a symbol of Western civilization. Yet even this landmark is only a shadow of its former self. Its first and most devastating loss was invisible. Inside the temple, shrouded in dim light, stood its heart, a 12-meter statue of the goddess Athena. Her body carved from ivory, her robe, shield, and helmet forged from pure gold. This was no mere sculpture. It embodied the power and wealth of Athens itself. By the 5th century AD, the statue vanished. It dissolved into history. Without it, the temple lost its soul and became just a building. But the humiliation was only beginning. In the 6th century, the Byzantines turned the Parthenon into a Christian church. They scraped away the pagan frescoes and restructured the interior. The great temple of Athena became a home for a foreign god. Centuries passed. In 1458, Athens fell to the Ottoman Empire. The conquerors looked at the Christian church and turned it into a mosque, adding a minaret. Once again, they altered the structure. Once again, they erased the past. But the worst was yet to come. During the Venetian siege, the Ottoman garrison made a fatal mistake. They decided the thick stone walls of the ancient temple were the perfect place to store gunpowder. Then a single Venetian cannonball hit its mark by chance. The explosion was devastating. It tore out the building's heart, collapsed the roof, and shattered the columns to pieces. Thousands of years of history and architectural brilliance, destroyed by reckless military negligence. The final blow came in the 19th century, delivered by British Earl Thomas Bruce. He simply removed the surviving sculptures and friezes, shipping them to London. dismantling what the explosion hadn't destroyed. If you think the ancient world was only white and gold, take a look at the jungles of Central America. Amid a vast sea of green, the gray stone giants of Tikal rise up. One of its temples, known as the Temple of the Second, was built as a mausoleum for the wife of a powerful king who ruled from 682 to 734. Today, it stands 38 meters tall, but originally it reached 42. And it wasn't gray. Not at all. Archaeologists uncovered traces of pigment, and the reconstruction is striking. The temple blazed with a sharp, blood-red color. This wasn't a quiet monument blending into the landscape. It was an aggressive, bold symbol of power and ritual, visible for miles. Intricate carvings covered its walls, mythical scenes, portraits of rulers. Now only faint shadows remain, worn away by tropical rains and centuries of neglect. We brought color back to individual buildings. We watched bright white fade to gray, then crumble into dust. We saw blood red wash out under relentless rain. Gold and ivory vanished without a trace. Time and people, the perfect vandals. They don't just erase paint, they erase memory itself, the memory of what the world once was. But sometimes it's not just color that disappears. Entire cities vanish, leaving behind only ghosts in the mountains and deserts. The year is 1911. American explorer Hiram Bingham hacks through the suffocating humidity of the Peruvian jungle. The air feels thick, almost like swimming through water. All around him, a living wall of green creeps and swallows everything. Then, his machete strikes stone. Not just any rock, a perfectly carved block. Behind it, another. Then a wall stretching into the mist. A staircase climbing into the clouds. Bingham didn't just find ruins. He stumbled on a ghost city, devoured alive by the jungle. When he stepped into Machu Picchu, the city lay hidden beneath a dense blanket of vegetation. 400 years of oblivion. 400 years since anyone had walked these streets. Even stripped of its vines, Machu Picchu today stands as nothing more than a stone skeleton. But in the 15th century, at its peak, it was a living, breathing city. Stone houses wore warm, thatched roofs. Terraces carved into the mountainsides brimmed with gardens and fields that fed its people. This was home to the palace of the ruler Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui and sacred sites for rituals. Then, in the 16th century, the city emptied. Conquerors never destroyed it. They simply never reached it. Instead, an invisible enemy brought it down. Smallpox carried by Europeans swept through the Inca Empire. Its people fled their city in the sky, leaving it to be devoured by time and jungle. Nature kept Machu Picchu hidden for centuries, but it gave another city only a few hours. The year 79 AD Pompeii thrived as a Roman city nestled beneath a peaceful green mountain. 12,000 people lived there. A bustling port, an amphitheater, temples, and a modern water system. It was just another day. Merchants filled the forum, debates echoed in taverns, children played on cobblestone streets. Then the mountain, Vesuvius, erupted. The sky darkened at midday. A wall of scorching ash slammed down on the city. In just a few hours it was over. Pompeii lay buried alive beneath meters of volcanic rock. This disaster, strangely enough, performed a miracle. A thick, dense layer of ash didn't burn the city or tear it apart. Instead, it sealed it off. It created a perfect time capsule. 17 centuries later, when archaeologists began their excavations, they didn't uncover ruins. They uncovered a snapshot of life frozen in a single moment. Walls of houses still bore vivid frescoes. Sidewalks showed wear from thousands of sandals. On the walls, drawings and inscriptions remained. Ancient graffiti filled with jokes, love notes, and political slogans. Storefronts stood ready for customers who would never arrive. These aren't just stones. They're a frozen scream from history, letting us look into the eyes of people who lived 2,000 years ago. Pompeii fell victim to the forces of nature. Ctesiphon, however, was brought down by human hands. For 800 years, this city, just under 20 miles from modern-day Baghdad, served as the capital of a powerful Persian empire. But it was more than a capital. It stood as one of the wealthiest metropolises in the world, a hub of science, culture, and authority. Its palaces overflowed with treasures, and its walls witnessed the greatest kings. At the heart of the city stood the throne hall crowned by a massive arch, the Takh Khasra. In 637, Arab Muslims conquered the city, but they didn't just loot it, they dismantled it completely. Ctesiphon became a quarry for building a new capital, Baghdad. Brick by brick, column by column, the greatest city of the East was wiped off the map to make way for its successor. All that remains of 8 centuries of imperial glory is the Arch of the Throne Hall. The Tak Khazra still stands alone in the desert, a silent, lonely witness. It's the largest single-span arch in the world, built without a single steel support. A fragment of a palace larger than entire cities, a ghost left behind by an empire. These cities fell to nature and conquest. But sometimes, the greatest monuments aren't built for gods or nations. They're born from the whims of a single person. Emperor Nero didn't just build a palace. He created his own universe at the heart of Rome. The Domus Aurea, or Golden House, wasn't a single building. It was an entire district. A sprawling palace complex covering more than a square kilometer, rising from the ashes of the Great Fire. Imagine tearing down several city blocks downtown just to build your own private estate. Inside, Nero crafted artificial lakes, fields, vineyards, and even forests populated with wild animals. The rooms weren't merely decorated. Their walls gleamed like living mosaics made from pure gold, mother of pearl, precious gems, and rare shells brought from the farthest corners of the world. But even that was just the backdrop for the real marvel. The octagonal banquet hall, its dome inlaid with ivory, wasn't still. It rotated, day and night in sync with the movements of the heavenly bodies, mimicking the cosmos itself. From the ceiling, delicate flower petals drifted down onto guests while precious perfumes filled the air. This wasn't just architecture, it was a theater of absolute power, a mechanism built to prove one thing: a single man could command the world. No wonder, after Nero's death, his successors did everything to erase the memory of this place. They hauled away its treasures and simply buried the underground halls in sand, entombing this madness beneath the earth. From the ruins of Nero's personal world rose a space meant for everyone: the Colosseum. Its walls soared 50 meters high, about the height of a modern 16-story building, encircling an arena that could hold up to 87,000 spectators. A whole city contained within a stone bowl. 80 entrances let the crowd fill their seats in just minutes. But this wasn't a chaotic mass. The Colosseum was a perfect cross-section of Roman society, a stone map carved in grandeur. At the very bottom, right by the arena, senators and vestal virgins sat on marble benches. They could smell the blood and sand, catch every emotion playing across the gladiators' faces. A little higher sat the equestrian class. Above them, the ordinary citizens of Rome gathered. And at the very top, under the blazing sun, wooden benches squeezed in the poor slaves and women. From up there, the fight in the arena felt distant, almost like an unreal show. Everyone knew their place. The Colosseum wasn't just a venue for entertainment, it was a daily ritual reinforcing an unshakable hierarchy. But when the empire fell, so did its symbol. Starting in the 6th century, the grand arena was abandoned, turning into a massive quarry. For centuries, Romans chipped away its blocks to build new churches and palaces. From the heart of an empire, to the depths of the jungle where power and ritual merged into one. El Castillo Pyramid in the ancient city of Chichen Itza is more than a temple. It's a calendar carved in stone, a mathematical poem. Each of its 4 sides rises with a staircase of 91 steps. 91 multiplied by 4, plus the temple platform at the top. The total? 365. The number of days in a year. The Maya embedded time itself into their architecture. They were brilliant astronomers, keen observers of the stars. But beneath this monument of reason lurked an abyss. The pyramid stands directly above a cenote, a deep natural sinkhole the Maya believed was a gateway to the underworld. Into those dark waters they cast people, human sacrifices to the rain god. Here the light of scientific knowledge collided with the darkness of brutal ritual. The cruelest irony? The city that prayed so desperately for rain was completely abandoned in the 15th century, most likely because of a catastrophic drought. The gods did not answer. Palaces built for one purpose. Arenas that held the masses in check. Temples where brilliance lived side by side with terror. We've seen great structures rise only to crumble into dust. But what happens when almost nothing remains? When all the history hides beneath a simple mound? Or, in a legend, everyone gets wrong? One image has etched itself into our minds. A towering bronze giant, legs wide, straddling the entrance to Rhodes Harbor. Ships drift beneath him like toys. The sun glints off his muscular frame, turning him into a beacon for the entire world. This picture appears in paintings, books, and films. But it's a complete lie. The greatest architectural myth ever told. The Colossus of Rhodes never stood like that. It's physically impossible. To block the harbor's entrance, it would have to reach 500 feet tall. 500. That's 1.5 times the height of the Eiffel Tower. Ancient engineers simply didn't have that kind of technology. The truth was more modest, yet no less tragic. A 32-foot bronze statue of the god Helios did indeed exist. It stood on a pedestal at the harbor's entrance, just like any other monument, greeting incoming ships. But its existence was short-lived, just 54 years. In 226 BC, a powerful earthquake shattered the bronze knees of the god. He toppled to the ground. Broken and humiliated, he lay like that for nearly 9 centuries. Then, in 654 AD, Arab conquerors sold his remains as scrap metal. The buyer melted them down and transported the metal on 900 camels. Yet, the myth outlasted the metal itself. Sometimes great structures vanish not because of disasters, but because of simple human pragmatism. In northern England, near the misty border with Scotland, lie the remnants of Hadrian's Wall. Yes, the very same wall that inspired the one in Game of Thrones. In the year 122, Emperor Hadrian ordered its construction to separate civilization from the barbarians. Nearly 20 feet tall, dotted with dozens of small forts and 17 major ones. This stone barrier marked the edge of the Roman Empire, the boundary of the known world. Legionnaires stood watch from its towers, scanning the chilly hills for enemies. But the real enemy didn't come from the north, it was time itself. In the 5th century, the Romans withdrew from Britain. The empire was coming apart at the seams, and the Great Wall, a symbol of power and order, stood defenseless. Locals looked at it not as history, but as a free source of building material. Generation after generation, they tore it down, stone by stone, to build churches, farms, homes, and cattle pens. So the mighty barrier, the empire's edge, became an ordinary fence. But sometimes cities disappear not from pragmatism, but simply because of human quarrels. Old Sarum, a settlement founded in 400 years before the Common Era. At the hill's summit stood a castle filled with soldiers. Nearby, a grand cathedral housed a flock of priests, and they despised each other. The soldiers saw the priests as freeloaders. The priests viewed the soldiers as noisy, rough pagans. The conflict simmered for years, showing itself in small ways. Loud singing during services, gates locked at night, keeping clergy out. Then one day, the church's patience snapped. They made a decision that sounds absurd today. Not just to build a new temple, but to dismantle the old one stone by stone and move it several miles away to a quieter spot now known as Salisbury. The cathedral literally changed its address. After the church moved, the city began to fade. It lost its meaning, its heart. People left. Old Sarum had survived centuries, but it didn't fall to enemies. It died from a domestic quarrel. But what if nothing remains from that great past? Not a single stone for a fence or foundation. What if all that's left is a green hill in the middle of an Irish field? Rathcrogan. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary spot. Yet in Celtic myths, this place marks the center of the world. Here, the ancient festival of Samhain began, the direct ancestor of modern Halloween. Legends say that once a year, a cave called Owainagat opens, a gateway to the otherworld, the realm of the dead. Locals still call it the Hell's Cave. For thousands of years, people sensed this unassuming hill held something more than just earth and grass. But there are no ruins, no walls, only grass and wind, a mystery cloaked in turf. Archaeologists didn't arrive at Rathcrogan with shovels. They brought ground-penetrating radar instead. This device lets them peek beneath the surface without disturbing a single blade of grass. What appeared on their screens left them speechless. Beneath the hill's green cover, a sharp outline of a massive structure emerged. A huge ceremonial hall buried deep beneath layers of earth and time. This was the heart of an ancient cult, a gathering place for Celtic pagans from all across Ireland. But why? We have no idea. No written records survived. What rituals took place in this hidden underground chamber? Were they harvest festivals? Or, as whispered in the darker corners of myth, human sacrifices meant to appease the gods of the underworld? Technology revealed the building's shape but kept its soul silent. The mystery remains. We journeyed from the dazzling white pyramids to the blood-red temples of the Maya. From cities frozen in ash to palaces buried beneath the earth. We moved from the obvious to the hidden, and what we discovered is that history isn't a frozen snapshot, it's a detective story. The Colossus of Rhodes? A myth. The Great Wall? A giant quarry. An entire city relocated over a feud. And an unremarkable hill? It turned out to be a gateway to another world. Ruins that seem gray and lifeless are actually bursting with color, life, and deception. They don't guard the truth. They conceal it. And our mission is to look deeper, under every stone, beneath every layer of dust, beyond every well-worn legend. Because it's there, in those ghostly landscapes, that the real story hides. Astonishing, endlessly alive.